I was saying y'all about Rico from Street Schools, and I feel like it's only right. I try to update y'all on our placement on the power rankings after every game if I can, but I mean, after a while, with us just sinking, it wasn't fun anymore. But now, after the way we played against the Vikings, we should have won that game. If you really watched the game, you know we really just sold that game. Honestly played very well against them for the most part. And then the fact that we beat the undefeated Eagles, man, I mean, these power rankings were starting to go up. We're improving. We're getting a lot of praise. Of course, when I do these power rankings, we're going to start from the worst and we're going to work our way to the best. And then anybody that gives any type of details as to why they gave us that ranking, we're also going to discuss that as well. We're going to take some of the praise and criticism from various NFL analysts around the NFL, around the media circuit. So we're going to take a look at some from like ESPN, NFL Network, CBS, Fox, all of them. Anybody that does an NFL power ranking system every week, I feel like I put in enough time to find every single one of them. If I missed a couple, let me know so I can keep track of that website or that blog or that analyst for the rest of this season. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every Sunday, every game day for my live play-by-play breakdown of every Commanders game. Of course, this upcoming game against the Texans in a couple of days. Make sure y'all pull up for that. Make sure y'all pull up to laugh and learn. No matter whether we're winning, losing, whatever, I'm always laughing. I'm always breaking everything down. So make sure you pull up. And without further ado, let's get it. All right, so this is actually a really good thing. Now, granted, 23rd in the NFL, I feel like is low, and that's not great. But the fact that that's our lowest ranking out of all of these rankings that we're going to go through, and it's like probably 20, 30 of them. And the lowest that we are is 23rd is actually really good. I mean, again, not only just beating the Eagles, but I think the way that we played against the Vikings also played a part. Now, granted, with the Lions, last week they had us 27th. After beating the Eagles, you would think we'll go up a little bit higher than that, but they have us at 23rd. They said the Commanders dominated possession and rushed for 152 yards at 3.1 yards per carry while converting 12 of 21 first downs in a stunning win at Philadelphia Monday night. At 5-5, Washington is trailing the 49ers by 0.5 games for the final NFC wildcard spot, and the Commanders -3 are favored in Houston next week. So that's what they had to say. Walter Football, also the other blog that has us at 23rd, he said, and he always still calls us the Redskins, he said the Redskins had a nice revenge victory over the Eagles, but it's not like they got Philadelphia at its best. The result will be misleading for ESPN viewers who only look at team records. So he's more down on us than most people. That's an interesting counter to what we have going on, but I fairly disagree. I feel like the reason the Eagles weren't at their best was because we produced and we just played them better. We made them make a lot of those mistakes. I feel like those turnovers were more forced than just simple drops and things like that and plain old luck. So I would like to push back there, but I can see the point being made. Plus, they didn't have my Georgia Bulldog, Jordan Davis, and you see how they overreacted by signing Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh immediately after that game, within the next couple of days. But, I mean, we have our fair share of injuries as well. If anything, we have more injuries than them. We're missing our technically starting Mike linebacker. At times in that game against the Eagles, we had one linebacker on the field, and that's Jamin Davis, and we saw him as a will linebacker coming into the NFL. And still kind of do. Jahan Dotson still not 100% healthy. We're missing Cole Turner still, who was supposed to be our best red zone threat in a way. We're still missing our starting center and the backup center / guard to him. So I don't really think that's much of an excuse. So moving on, 22nd, a couple of blogs had us there. Clutch Points said teams like the Commanders are easy to doubt, especially when their seasons have more ups and downs than a roller coaster. But their stunning Monday Night Football performance and win over the Eagles shows that this team may have more fight in them than originally thought. Fighting an uphill battle with no real postseason aspirations to be realized, the Commanders were at least able to have some fun and ruin yet another undefeated streak. I'm going to also push back on there as well because I think we do have an honest shot at the playoffs. We played the Giants twice, who are in the way of us right now, higher seeding. We played the 49ers, who again were 0.5 games behind them. We beat them and we end up with like the similar records at the end of the season. We would win that tiebreaker. We play the Cowboys as well. So there's a clear path to making the playoffs for us. I don't think our playoff hopes are shot like some people feel like they are, like Clutch Points, who has us ranked 22nd overall. Also having us ranked 22nd overall is Betting Pros. They don't have an example, and they have like the betting odds and things like that. They have us plus 15,000 right now. But again, they have us ranked 22nd. They had us ranked, it looks like 32nd last week, because it says plus 10 next to the 22nd. So they had us dead last week before we just beat the Eagles. So they're probably the most shocked out of anybody in the entire blogosphere. Then next up, 20th in the power rankings, Sports Illustrated. They said this is a version of the Commanders I'd watch every week. Stout defensively and rugged offensively, using some of the Eagles' own philosophy against them. On Monday night, they managed to generate chunk plays in addition to playing some aesthetically pleasing ball control offense that completely kept the Duke out of Jalen Hurts' hands. Then next up, OddsShark has us ranked 19th. They had us 19th last week, so they saw no reason to move us up. Then there's a lot of people that have us 18th. Starting with DocSports.com, they said it was disgusting to listen to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman heap praise on Scott Turner during Washington's Monday night win. The play calling for the Commanders was again awful. Running the ball 49 times was great, but the number of risky throws that Washington got away with by the skin of Taylor Heineke's teeth was enormous. They should have been playing for 3 points with a 23-1 lead late in the fourth quarter, not lobbing passes up the sideline and up for grabs towards the end zone. I'm gonna push back towards that as well. I actually really like Scott Turner's game plan there. Now, granted, I will admit that we're not gonna be able to run the ball 49 times against everybody. That's not something you can count on, but I love the game plan that he had against the Eagles and staying committed to the run. So again, I'm gonna push back on that. Also, 18th, Number Fire, who had us ranked 24th last week. Pro Football Network's Miller said, who also has us ranked 18th and had us ranked 18th last week as well. They said that Washington's defense has steadily improved so far throughout the season, but the Washington offense must find something more than their 27th ranked EPA performance thus far. They also said congratulations are in order for the Washington offense against Philadelphia, though. They didn't move the ball with much explosiveness aside from Terry McLaurin's big 41-yard reception. Rather, they simply walked the ball down the field methodically. Time of possession is an overrated statistic, but keeping overall possessions down by running the ball and converting 12 third downs is a nice way to avoid regression against a better football team. They probably don't have the requisite QB play to be a legitimate contender in the NFC, but they can fight for the 7th playoff spot in a down NFC. USA's Today Davis had us ranked 23rd last week, also has us ranked 18th this week, said they improved to 3-1 under quarterback Taylor Heineke after Monday's upset of the previously unbeaten Eagles and are just a half game out of the NFC's final playoff spot. Washington's lineup will certainly improve with the return of defensive end Chase Young, but maybe not so much with QB Carson Wentz. So they're assuming that Carson Wentz, once healthy, will replace Taylor Heineke and take back that starting QB job. The Ringer's Gale had us ranked 24th last week, has us 18th this week. He said, and they said quite a bit, but the main thing I want to talk about is what they said. Heineke was coy in his response to the questions about being named the permanent starter with Wentz expected to be cleared to play next week, but the choice for Ron Rivera should be obvious. This is Heineke's team, and the Commanders are better because of it. Then the Athletics Wolf has us ranked 18th as well, had us ranked 21st last week. He said, how would George Washington feel about the nameless team joyously celebrating a successful surrender? Credit to the Commanders for fully committing to their run-heavy game plan in the first half of their 32-21 win over the Eagles. They ended up holding the ball for 40 minutes 24 seconds, the second most lopsided time of possession in the game this season, behind the Bills' Week 3 loss in Miami. There were also 2 cosmic winks from the football gods we should have seen coming. It makes total sense in retrospect that star-crossed Carson Wentz would be doomed to watch his backup lead an upset in his first return trip to face his former team, thereby relegating them to the bench. And it had to be former Eagles 7th round pick Casey Toohill who had stamped the win with a meaningless last-second touchdown and celebratory gritty. Some things are just destined to come full circle. And then moving on to everybody that had us ranked 17th in the power rankings this week, you have WinBet. They said there's just zero chance Ron Rivera can justify turning back to Carson Wentz. This is Taylor Heineke's show now. Fansided's Baxter said the Commanders look to bounce back from a tough home loss to the Vikings. They traveled to Philadelphia looking to avoid a 4th straight loss to the Eagles, but Ron Rivera's club came up with a big effort in all aspects, especially when it came to dominating the Birds' defense. Washington had 49 run plays for 152 yards and and stifled the NFC East leaders with numerous big plays as Rivera's team handed the Eagles their first loss of 2022. Then Fox Sports' Hellman said ultimately the Commanders coaches who will choose who starts between Taylor Heinicke and Carson Wentz. But having just watched Heinicke take Washington to Philadelphia and take down the unbeaten Eagles, improving his record on the season to 3-1, it doesn't feel like a difficult choice. The team has had a different energy since Heinicke took over as the signal caller. Bleacher Report also has us ranked 18th. They have a full-blown breakdown that if you want to go check it out, you can as well. CBS Sports Prisco also has us ranked 17th. They said at 5-5, they are alive in the playoff race. That was an impressive road victory Monday night against the Eagles. Then NFL.com's Hansa said there won't be many moments this season as unintentionally funny as Taylor Heinicke celebrating Brandon Graham's late hit penalty in the final minutes like he'd successfully executed the helicopter dive in Super Bowl 32. Still, one controversial penalty shouldn't obscure an incredible primetime performance by the Commanders, who knocked off the previously undefeated Eagles and put themselves right in the thick of the NFC playoff race. Washington's ball control offense was remarkable, possessing the football for over 40 minutes of game time despite averaging just 4.1 yards per play. Huge turnovers made the difference. Nothing bigger than Derek Forrest's fumble recovery after a 50-yard game by receiver Quez Watkins midway through the fourth quarter, and the Commanders had a marvelous time ruining everything. That's probably my favorite quote out of all of them that we're probably going to read this entire video. Definitely my favorite assessment and the one I agree with the most so far that we've read. Then ESPN has us ranked 17th, and they said who was on the hot seat in the preseason? Carson Wentz, because they keep up with that throughout the season. And the temperature of the seat right now, hot. And this was by John Kahn. Then the 16th overall power rankings are New York Post, Dunleavy. You have Pro Football Talk, who said Carson Wentz once lost his job based on how he played in Philly. He's losing it now based on how his backup played there. I think that's really interesting. Then Sports Knots Johnson also have us ranked 16th. He said, we have to give the Washington Commanders credit. Despite all of the drama behind the scenes, they are now 5-5 and just a half game out of the playoff spot in the NFC. Washington handed the Philadelphia Eagles their first loss of the season Monday night, shaking things up in a big way in the process. The squad has won 4 of 5 since it looked to be dead in the water. Credit to head coach Ron Rivera. I agree. Then there's a set of blogs that have us ranked 15th overall. You have The Score, who said Washington stunned the Eagles to take down the last remaining undefeated team in the league Monday night. The Commanders will look to go above 500 in Week 11 for the first time since Week 1 when they faced the Texans. Because remember, we haven't been over 500 since we were 1-0 against the Jaguars. Since then, basically been downhill until the last couple of weeks. Then Sports News said the Commanders shocked everyone by beating the Eagles in Philadelphia to close Week 10, getting them back to 500 on the season with Taylor Heinicke. The running game and defense are all providing big sparks. Instead of seeing the door slammed on their playoff hopes, they have a glimmer of wild card hope. Yahoo Sports and the 33rd team also have us ranked 18th. The 33rd team said good news. The Commanders, who came in the Monday night's game ranked 26th in the NFL in third down efficiency, converted 12 of 21 third downs against the Eagles. Bad news, their defense has just 5 sacks in the last 4 games, including 1 against the Eagles. Really interesting assessment. Those are both true. We do need to get more sacks. And then our highest rankings out of anywhere that I can find. You have thegameday.com. They have us ranked 14th. They said if Taylor Heinicke isn't named the full-time starter when Carson Wentz returns, Ron Rivera should be fired on the spot. Heinicke knocked off Wentz's former team Monday night in Philadelphia, handing the Eagles their first loss of the season. The 72 Dolphins should send their regards. And then lastly, the other blog that has us ranked the highest that we are anywhere that I can find, Anflon Sports Fisher. He said Riverboat Ron's trip up to Philly underscored just how tough the NFC East is this season, and likely got the head coach a case or two of the good stuff from the 72 Dolphins in the process. One thing is certain. This is Taylor Heinicke's team, and he's not letting go of it anytime soon. And the Athlon Sports had us ranked 18th last week. Again, they have us ranked 14th this week. So the highest we are is 14th in a couple of places, and then the lowest we are is 23rd in a couple of places. But the rank that we have the most in is 17th. 8 different analysts, blogs, websites, organizations have us ranked 17th, which again is the most out of any other rank. Again, ranging from 14 all the way down to 23. And again, I'm just happy that 23 is the lowest. So I'm not exactly sure what the median is here, but the mode is definitely ranked 17th. So you can argue that we are the 17th best team in the NFL because that's the most common ranking for us. But again, Some people out there feel like we're the 14th, and after you beat an undefeated team, arguably the best team in the NFL, 14th, I'm surprised that somebody didn't at least think we may have been higher than that. Just one guy. Then again, how we played against the Bears, barely beating them, barely beating the Colts, and we should have beat the Vikings, but we just wet the bed. I can understand. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Do you want me to keep these power rankings going, especially after victories like the one against the Eagles, especially if we beat the Houston Texans as well going into this week like we're expected to, but who knows? Do you want me to keep coming with these power rankings around the NFL? And of course, man, I appreciate all the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.